Welcome everyone for this new video tutorial on the cjapy module, so the Customer Journey Analytics API Python wrapper. So the version that I'm going to demonstrate is 0.04. And in this video tutorial, I would like to focus on another class that is been provided during the Customer Journey Analytics API module. And we have already seen the core methods, the method that are provided by the CGA class instance, the workspace when it's being returned via the get report, the request creator, and I want now to show you the project class elements. So I'm going to open that for further discussion later on the different documentation available. But yeah, as always, you have a clear documentation there to know what's going on. But it's better to just show you this directly. And the project class documentation is, or the project class itself, is focused on the project. And what are projects in Customer Journey Analytics? So projects are a workspace project. The endpoint has been made official during the last weeks of before the presentation. So it's quite new to the environment if you are already using the API. So be sure to check it out. But that endpoint allows you to actually download all of the projects that you currently have in your Customer Journey Analytics instance, and also the definition of that project. So I open my project here, which is my data analyst overview, show me the different value for the data analyst data view and data connection I actually have. And you can see, because we are early in the month, we have some data here and which URL and so forth are being used. The capability is directly available as one of the methods from the cjapy CGA class instance. So if I'm starting again on the Jupyter notebooks that I use in the different other demo, so I will not go through how to create all of this. You can either watch the different videos before or read the documentation on getting started with that. So I'm going to create this instance of the class, and then when I'm going to get before my report, actually, I'm going to create here a project part, and I will get my project like doing like this. So it's get project. Okay, here it is. So this element, as you always, can be used directly from your instances, and has been achieved here through the tab. So doing the tab after dot here, the CGA instance provides you all of the method available from that instance. So you see all of the get and update and so forth method. So normally this is returning me a list of the different projects I have access to. So in that case, normally the head show you the first 5. In my case, I have only 1, and you can see this is the data analyst 1, and you can see all of the different overview information that is being used. So you can see external reference gives you some information. So let's go just a bit there because Yep, this can be interesting. So I'm going to look at external references. Hop. And you can see that you can the number of segment that or the segment that are being used, the report suite ID, the calculated metrics, and the date range that is being used in that element. The thing is, you can even have more information if you request project itself, as I was explaining, you can retrieve directly the definition of what the project is. So if I'm getting my data analyst, let's get it like this, and this is going to be CGA get project, and retrieving by the ID the information here. And if I'm looking at that, you can see some information that are being used. So the owner, my IMS, because I'm the owner, so I can find out my IMS user ID that is being used. So I can see that I'm using the Adobe ID and not the federated ID. You can see some color scheme that is being used, the density, some information, but it's getting a bit complicated. So I mean, you can see it's quite long actually, this element. So I'm not going through everything. But it's quite complicated, and you will need to analyze it in a more detailed way to have some meaningful information. Fortunately for you, we have this way directly available through the CJPI, sorry, module. And in order to enhance that, you can either use parameters here. So if I'm doing Shift Tab in Jupyter Notebooks, normally it opens this documentation, and you can see you can return a project class, which is, yeah, good things, what we want to discuss today, and I'm turning that to true. And by doing this, now I'm going to run this again, so it doesn't take so much more time, and then I'm returning now the elements, and you can see I have parsed all of the information to give you the important information about that project. So the number of subpanel, we have apparently 4 subpanel, and we have 1 major panel. So let's check it out. So we should have only 1 panel. So we have only 1 panel. The panel is this data analyst overview. You can see here. I hope you can see my mouse. And we have 4 subpanels. So we have 1, 2, 3, up, 4 subpanel. And all of those information, the number of elements that are being used. So you have 7 elements used. You have 4 dimensions, 2 metrics, and 1 filters. You can see that there have been no calculated metrics, which data view is being used, and even the data view name. So you can have even dimension item. If you use a dimension item as a filter, if I were to use, for example, let's say this one, this Adobe Launch here into the event as a filter, then you will see these elements here being described here. So I feel that this project overview is already quite good. So obviously you can have, because it's a class, and you have some, on an instance of a class, you have some metadata attached to it. And you can have all of those elements directly available as attributes. So, for example, I can obviously get that to dictionary. You can get the version. So the version is quite important, especially about compatibility. If you want to modify the project, sometimes you need to have the same version available. We don't want to go too deep into that, but for these elements, you can have the number of subpanel. I mean, everything that I was explaining here. And the element use contains the different dimension item, metrics, filters, data view ID, calculated metrics, and data view names information. So I can do actually now, I want to only retrieve the dimension, and then I have my dimension. I think this is very helpful, especially if you combine it with the audit logs. You can find out which project has been used most of the time, and on those projects, what is actually being used inside those projects. So if you are have a large implementation in IP, with a huge schema, you may want to know if everything of your schema is being used appropriately. and therefore make correct actions regarding that. So this is it. I think it's not so new for the people that are used for the Adobe Analytics API wrapper that I already provide. But yeah, there's just some very basic change, like segment are no filters, uh, and yeah, you can see here filters is normally segment, and you have now the data view names that are available and the dimension item that I didn't provide yet for the Adobe Analytics API. If you are interested to get those updates, let me know. I will see what I can do for the Adobe Analytics API wrapper. Um, and there, I hope you like it. I also looking forward for your comment on this. Have a great rest of the day. Bye.